Welcome to my channel. In this video, following topics are discussed: Death of Ali May, Allah be pleased with him, Accession of Hasan, and the fall of the rightly guided caliphate. Please subscribe to stay updated for more parts in this series and other videos. Efforts are made in making these videos. Helps us spread the message by sharing and like our videos. Please comment for any suggestion or views. Your help is greatly appreciated. Thanks. Causes of Ali's failure. The failure of Ali and the success of Muawiyah may be ascribed to the following causes. Firstly, Ali had to fight against Talha, Zubair, and Aisha, who made a common cause against him. When Talha and Zubair, who entered into league with Ali, were going away from the battlefield, according to the negotiation, they were caught and killed by the followers of Ali. Their death ultimately strengthened the power of Muawiyah and weakened the cause of Ali. Secondly, there were rebellions in the empire, especially in Basra, Egypt, and Persia, and the declaration of independence in these provinces created serious trouble for Ali. The loss of Egypt was a death blow to his power and prestige. Thirdly, Muawiyah depended upon the Syrians, who were loyal and faithful to him, while Ali had to depend on the Kufans, who were fickle-minded and did not stand by him in times of trouble and danger. Besides, the presence of regicides in the army of the Caliphate and the desertion of the Khawarij, who left his party in the Battle of Siffin and kept the country in constant disorder, had seriously weakened the party of Ali. Fourthly, the struggle between the Umayyads and the Hashemites was no less a source of trouble to Ali. The time was also favorable for Muawiyah, because the power of the former began to increase at that time, while that of the latter was on the way to decay. Fifthly, the character of Ali was responsible for his failure. He was a brave warrior, no doubt, but not a good organizer and a foresighted statesman. His hasty policy in changing the governors of the provinces before establishing his power and position firmly on the throne reveals the lack of political foresight, while the diplomacy of Amr bin Az and the political foresight of Muawiyah account for the success of the latter. Muawiyah was a clever and shrewd politician. The Battle of Siffin speaks eloquently of his genius as a military organizer and successful statesman. Lastly, the machination of the followers of Ibi and Saba and the intrigues of regicides made the matter worse for him and contributed a good deal towards his failure as a Khalifa. The compromise between Ali and Muawiyah dealt a death blow to the hopes of the mischief makers. They now tried to remove the Khalifa, who was assaulted by the mischief makers, while I was going to say his morning prayer in the mosque. As a result of this injury, he passed away on the 17th of Ramadan, 40 AH 6 to 60 AD, after a reign of 4 years and 9 months. Estimate of Ali's character. Ali was the model of simplicity and self-denial. From cradle to the grave, he led the simple life of a poor man. He had no servant nor maidservant in his house, and his wife Fatima would grind corn with her own hands. To earn his living, he did every kind of work and labor. Purity of motives and selflessness were the keynote of his life. He had no desire for kingship, but when the mantle fell on his shoulder, he tried his best to fulfill his responsibility. When he found it impossible to bring the whole of the empire of Islam under one Khalifa, he agreed to come to terms with Muawiyah. Had there been the faintest desire in his heart for kingship, he would, on no account, have concluded peace with Muawiyah. Monarch of a vast empire, he led the life of a hermit, and he never cast a glance at the worldly riches which came in heaps only to kiss his shoes. He lived in a cottage like the other Khalifas, and wore rough, coarse clothes and took pride in doing household work with his own hands. He fell a victim to assassin's knife, but he never cared to make any special arrangement, nor engaged any guard at his door for his personal safety. He used to go to the mosque for the 5 daily prayers, to listen to the complaints of both the Muslims and the non-Muslims. Ali was a constant companion of the Holy Prophet, and during the early period of Islam, he displayed feats of courage and bravery. In points of knowledge and daring, he proved the best possible pilot for the bark of Islam in those stormy days. As a man of sound knowledge, he was asked by the Prophet to do the work of scribe of the Holy Quran. He was a commentator of the Holy Quran of high standing. In the preservation of hadith, he had a unique position. That is why he was called the Gate of Knowledge. His whole life was dedicated to the service of Allah and His creation. In spite of all these admirable virtues and qualities, Ali was lacking in foresight, alertness, and expediency, and hence his career as a Khalifa ended in sad failure. Accession of Hasan. On the demise of Ali, his eldest son Hasan was elected as the Khalifa. No sooner had the news reached the ear of Muawiyah than he, taking the opportunity, invaded Iraq. Hasan was then forced to send troops under the command of Qais against Muawiyah. But a false report of the death of Qais had changed the situation of the battle, and the troops rose in revolt against the Khalifa. Hasan, realizing the gravity of the situation, sent a letter of submission to Muawiyah. He agreed to abdicate his right in favor of Muawiyah on condition that after his death his younger brother Hussein would be the Khalifa. After the acceptance of the terms by Muawiyah, Hasan retired with his family to Medina, where he was poisoned to death by one of his wives at the instigation of Yazid. Such was the miserable end of Hasan, the grandson of the Prophet. Fall of the pious Khilafah. The Arabs were destined to carry the message of mercy and the announcement of divine faith to all mankind. With incomparable energy and devotion, they took the banner of Islam and carried it to every quarter of the earth. The teachings of the Prophet inspired them with new life, and they came out from their desert fastnesses as the preceptors of humanity. Within 30 years, they had built up an empire even greater than that of Rome. But the religion of humanity could not escape the curse of discord. The following are the causes which led to the fall of the pious Khilafah. The enmity between the Hashemites and the Umayyads constituted one of the main causes for the fall of the pious Caliphate. This tribal jealousy and rivalry existed even before the birth of Muhammad, peace be upon him. But the teachings of the great prophet kept them in check. Abu Bakr and Umar did not belong to any of the parties, and as they were engaged in wars with the foreign powers, the tribal jealousy could not raise its head. But the peaceful reign of Uthman allowed the dormant rivalry to rear its head. When the Umayyad supremacy under Uthman was going to be established, the Hashemites could not tolerate it. They tried to undo the influence of the Umayyads in the empire. With this end in view, they sided with the enemies of Uthman. Had the Hashemites and the Umayyads been united at that critical time, the Arab faction which challenged the authority of Uthman would have been crushed. But the enmity between the two had encouraged the enemy and was ultimately responsible for the murder of Uthman. With the murder of the Khalifa, the unity of Islam was lost and the gates of civil war were opened. Uthman had removed some of the governors and high officials and appointed, in their places, his own relatives. The dismissal was not without reasons, and the new governors were able and efficient. But the people misunderstood his policy. The Kufans, Basrites, and Egyptians formed a formidable body of discontent and carried on a propaganda against Uthman. They not only brought about the fall of Uthman, but their activities weakened the stability of the empire as well. When Ali became Khalifa, he changed all the governors appointed by his immediate predecessor. He also ignored the Shura and refused to recognize the validity of the decisions taken by his predecessor. This policy of Ali created a host of enemies in the empire. Muawiyah, the Syrian governor, stood vehemently against the Khalifa and ultimately founded the Umayyad dynasty. The conflict between Ali and Muawiyah was one of the prominent causes of the fall of the pious Khilafat. On his accession to the Caliphate, Ali wrote a letter to Muawiyah asking him to resign his post, but the latter replied that unless the blood of Uthman was avenged, he would not submit to him. So dispute arose between Ali and Muawiyah, and it resulted in the Battle of Siffin. On the second day of the battle, Muawiyah, finding no hope of success, sought a new plan at the advice of his general Amr bin Az, and ordered his soldiers to fasten the Quran to their lances as sign of peace. The battle was stopped, and it was decided that the matter should be left to the decision of the two persons appointed from both the parties. Abu Musa Ash'ari was chosen as the representative of Ali, while Muawiyah selected Amr bin Az. The decision of the arbiters was that both Ali and Muawiyah should give up the claim of Khilafat, and a third man should be elected as Khalifa. This decision of the umpires dealt a death blow to the Khilafat of Ali, but the decision was not accepted by soldiers of Ali, and a detachment of 12,000, who were called Kharijites, left the party of the Caliphate and caused serious disturbances in the empire. The Kharijites created immense troubles for Ali and thus weakened his power. Insurrections also broke out in different parts of the empire, and Ali, considering the political situation, seriously agreed to come to terms with Muawiyah. But the peace treaty was not a happy one. After a few days, Ali was murdered, and with his death, the republic came to an end.